Hi, I'm KRULA and welcome to my Photoshop tutorial where I will show you how to retouch beauty pictures. And in this part I show you how to work with a RAW file and how to start retouching. Example will be picture taken with the Canon EOS 5D Mark 1, and program that we use it's Photoshop CS5 extended version. And so let's start. And for those who don't know the difference between JPEG and a RAW file, JPEG it's a compressed file, so quality it's much lower, and RAW it's an uncompressed file, and RAW it's all the data that was recorded by the sensor of your camera. All the data it's kept, and then it's saved on the memory card, so we have access later. And with the JPEG your camera decides what is not important, and then remove this data, and so we don't have access to everything that was recorded by your sensor, but your camera decides what is not important. It's almost like with MP3 format, where what we cannot hear our computer removes to save memory. This is very convenient when we have a memory card that it's much smaller, and we cannot record too many files, big files. But like everything in photography, we have to lose something to get something. So I prefer always to get quality. So let's try to open Photoshop. Let's try to open a RAW file. Okay, when we try to open a RAW file in Photoshop CS5 or any other Photoshop, what happens? It opens in a program named Camera Raw, and it depends which version you have. Here we have a 6.3 version, and it tells us what camera we use. And then we have a preview of our pictures, all the adjustments that we can do, and the tools that we can use. It depends on which Camera Raw you're using. Some of the tools on the top are not there, because maybe you have a previous version, and there's much less adjustments that you can do. But there are few most important. One is zoom tool, obviously, hand tool to grab and move the picture on the screen, and white balance tool, and there are few tools that probably you were missing in the previous versions, like a spot removal tool, a red eye removal tool, adjustment brush, and graduated filter. But because it's a beauty shot, we don't use those tools at all. What we do, we just zoom in and zoom out, really. And if we have want to set up white balance ourselves, we go to white balance tool. So this is about the tools on the top, and then we have our histogram and all the adjustments that we can do with our picture. When we work with the beauty, usually we work only with this part that is basic, because we don't have an tone curve. We can work later, but in the conditions where we work in a studio environment, there's not many adjustments that we have to really need, as long as you took well exposed picture. And I never sharpen my picture before retouching, and I never convert to grayscale or at this level. And the lens correction, it's not necessary with the lens that this shot was taken. And camera calibration we just leave as default. Okay, so what we can say about this picture when we first look at it, we can see that it's well exposed. It's a little bit maybe overexposed on this part over here when at the first sight, but we we shouldn't worry because we have access to this data, as I said before, and in bright spots there's 4 times more information than in dark spots. This is because of the way that sensors in the cameras are built, and so that's the way it is. It may look that here we can see only white, bright white really, but we can get access to this by going to exposure, and it shows that we can see all the details of the bright spots. It doesn't work the same way with the shadows, and because if we go to the shadows and we try to brighten them, what we can see, it's an awful noise that is very hard to remove. That's why it's always better to overexpose a picture than underexpose when we shoot digital. Okay, so let's see what we have to fix. Here histogram looks quite alright. There is a bit of high pitch in the shadows. So we can see that here it's really dark and there are no details whatsoever. But we shouldn't worry because when we look at that picture, it adds this extra drama to it, and I think it look quite alright. So what we have to do, we have to go to first about maybe I will tell you about the temperature and what we can do. It's all the settings that we can try are here when we want to set up a white balance. There's a white balance tool that just sets up where we decide where is white, and we tell computer where is white. But because there's nowhere really close to white or even to 19% gray, and we cannot really make any use of this tool. So we have to just work with the picture ourselves, and then decide what we see on the screen, and depends what screen you use, and if it's calibrated or not, you can be more accurate with adjustment. Here is a few presets that we can use. One is as shot, auto, daylight, and so on and so on. So we can try what it does with auto. As we can see on the auto settings, the picture doesn't look really good. We still have this magenta-ish feeling, and the colors, they are much colder that we really want to have them. So we just decide to go back to as shot, so we can adjust ourselves. I know it was taken in the studio, and we use a flash, so we can try on the flash setting. Oh, and here we see that colors, they are more accurate, and they're closer to natural. So we can leave them like that, or maybe just because I always prefer to have colder colors, especially in a winterish type of photo like this one. We just go to a little bit lower temperature than we had before. So let's leave it like that. Then we will work with exposure. This part is all about exposure and the brightness and darkness. So we will see how the exposure looks like. And here are a few settings. Obviously, exposure, it's we can go up and down. If we have overexposed picture, we go just down, and we can see that all the data it's available, and there is no noise whatsoever. But when we want to go brighten and we have shadows, like I showed you before, there is a lot of noise that we cannot really work with, and that's why always overexpose. 9 out of 10 times I always overexpose my pictures. So here we just go with a little bit low exposure, just a bit to get some details in the skin tone. And here we have 2 settings, that one is recover and one is fill light. They are very nice and sometimes very useful, especially when you start working in a studio. You will see that sometimes you overexpose some part, so we can see that this one starts at a bright spot and goes to the darker, and this is opposite. So what it does, it makes just bright side of your photography much darker. As we can see this here, we see that this part become much darker than it was in this setting. Okay, then we have a fill light. What it does, it just brightens the dark parts of your picture, like you use a fill light. We can see that there are some details, but they are really for us useless because of the amount of noise that we have there. So we won't use it, and the picture looks just well funny. And I would add just a bit of fill light. So, and compared to the picture that we had before, this photo looks flat and not interesting. But we shouldn't worry, because we tried to when we use camera raw, we try to work with the photo to get as much, to squeeze as much information to start retouching as possible. So we just do that. We go to fill light. We don't use black because black is dark black enough, so we don't have to add any of that. With the brightness, we don't work with the brightness really, because we can adjust this at the end, and the contrast we do at the end as well. Clarity just sharpens a bit a picture, and saturation and vibrance are useful to when we have problems with the colors. But here the colors they look quite alright, so we don't have to worry about saturation, which works with the main colors, and this with the other colors works vibrance. I never sharpen picture on this at this level, because all the sharpening that I do, it should be, in my opinion, should be the last step. And so why is that? Because if we sharpen something now and then we start retouching something in the skin, it becomes blurry, and then we have to sharpen again. So some part we have very sharp, and the rest looks just over sharpened and not right. And I don't think over sharpening pictures really helps them. So let's just leave that. So we don't sharpen, we don't work with noise reduction, because it loses quality, it just blurs the picture. It's not really cool. And like I said, we don't work with the grayscale, split toning and shadows. We don't really work with that. Lens correction, with this lens we don't have to use it. And so we just did those settings, and we can keep our photo like this and just start retouching. So the next step will be just opening an image and start our fun. Okay, thank you. Let's open a picture.